Welcome to this December tarot reading for inner growth and personal healing. As always, this is not a reading that is going to predict the way your month of December is going to go. It's more about giving you some tools, some insight about perhaps places, things to let go of, and other things to lean into so that you can actually be your highest and best self this December. I'm doing it a little later this year because I was traveling for some family things. And yet at the same time, better late than never, right? So let's dive in. So for the first card, what energy are you bringing into this month of December? We got the Father of Cups. And the Father of Cups is a really mature being that's kind of like evolved and learned through the soap of the cups with ups and downs along the way. And now this Father of Cups, probably a personality trait of yourself, is somebody who is really grounded, very mature, and is able to kind of live through the feelings, feel things profoundly, feel them really, not suppress them, and at the same time, not get overwhelmed by them. And I think this is a wonderful place to be coming into this December, because December can be overwhelming with all the parties and the people and the things we got to do. And at the same time, like, coming into it with this very grounded and very mature way of seeing things is a wonderful way to be. And I think it's a really good sign to start your month off that way. For the second card, what is your soul lesson this month? We got the Daughter of Swords. And it's interesting to see that difference between the father that's so kind of more mature and the daughter, because the daughters are the youngest of the court cards, the pages. And basically, yes, that can make them maybe a little bit immature or maybe a little naive sometimes. But at the same time, daughters have this wonderful energy because they're very playful, they're very creative, they're also childlike, and they think outside of the box. They haven't been kind of set in ways, through everything that they've learned through. And so they're very creative and fresh. And so I think that the soul lesson that you'll be learning this month is one about curiosity, staying open. And since swords have to do with our thoughts, our mind, basically our thought patterns, our personal beliefs, our truths. To me, it's about remaining curious. And it's interesting because especially when we're learning and growing and progressing, and we've made it so far and we've kind of gotten to new levels, it can be very tempting sometimes to think that we've kind of arrived, and that is a good thing. And we are progressing. We're always progressing. But I think the soul lesson is always to remember to keep that beginner's mindset, to remain curious, to be open even about things that you're sure about. And I think that that's this lesson this month. And it can be very challenging sometimes when we, get together in family dinners or things like that and talk with people who might have opinions on things that are so different than ours. And yet I think sometimes we need to remember that we can still learn from that. And so I think that the soul lesson here is that it's important to remain curious, and that maybe actually also during this whole December, you might have some fresh looks, because since the pages of swords are about ideas, it could be a new way of thinking, a new way of seeing a situation. Maybe also you're going to revisit something from your past, and you're going to see it through a different angle because you will have that fresh and new insight, that fresh look on things. So for the next card, what to let go of this month, we got the Moon card, and that is a major arcana. The Moon is often about fears and kind of illusions, not seeing clearly, because it's true when we're walking in the forest, as we always do, and there's the moonlight down there, it's not always easy to see what is really there. For example, that shadow over there that looks so scary, is it really scary? Is there really a danger there, or is it just a shadow? And vice versa, though, something that we're not seeing because it's really hidden in the dark, that might actually be the real danger. And so what to let go of this month, I think, is the notion of needing to see clearly, of needing to know everything, of needing to be able to control in a way by seeing and knowing, and to kind of like be able to be comfortable not knowing. And of course, that is so challenging. It's so much easier said than done to just be like, okay, be okay with not knowing or not seeing the direction you're going or not being able to figure things out. But again, last month we actually saw that there was that message from the hangman, and being okay in that limbo of like waiting, basically being in that moment where you can't really, you just have to be patient. And I think this is also the thing of it's kind of like a continuation of that, of you got to learn how to let go of needing to see everything. And I think the clue though is this moon, because moons in tarot have to do with our subconscious, our intuition. And so when we are able to maybe like, when we are not able, sorry, to see clearly, because we can't see things so well in the light of the moon, we can't use our eyes. We can't use the senses we're used to using. And that's actually the time to tune in inside, to stop using our outside senses, stop using our eyes, and use our inner eyes, use our inner knowledge, the things that we know deep inside, to help guide us through that moment of unclarity and like of not knowing. And the interesting thing is that when we do that, that's the cool thing about this card, is that yes, when we are in the fear of not knowing, then it creates anxiety and it creates doubt and kind of like just not a pleasant feeling. But if you can actually lean into the not knowing and be okay with that, and maybe see what you can, like use that, you can actually start to have more dreams, because the moon card can also be associated with dreams and adventures and kind of like, that unknown, the unknown of the pleasant part of unknownness. And so that's what it is. It's about letting go perhaps of that need and seeing if, when you kind of like relax into the not knowing, relax into the not seeing, whether that can actually be exciting. And maybe when you're in that position, it actually might be where you start to have these new ideas, this new way of looking at things. Maybe that's where, if you just relax into the not seeing, you might end up seeing something in a totally different way. So for the next card, what to lean into, we actually got the Daughter of Wands. And it's so cute to see these two daughters, these two sisters side by side. And the Daughter of Wands, again, is the youngest of her court cards. And she's all about creativity and kind of like enthusiasm, that enthusiasm that we have when we're young. And so what to lean into, I think it's about leaning into anything that is that really like spikes your curiosity. Follow what lights you up, because this is a card that is about, following your passion. And so in this month of December, I think it's about maybe not knowing, but if you're wanting to figure out where to go and not to feel so lost, follow what is lighting you up. That will help you get out of this kind of situation where you're not knowing where you go. Follow something that is lighting up your heart. It might not necessarily make sense to you or to anybody else even, but if you follow those things, I think that's where you're going to start to get clarity. I also think it's really interesting that both of these cards are holding on so tightly to something. And it kind of reminded me of the film Dumbo, because in Dumbo, the little sweet little elephant can fly whether or not it's holding on to that little feather. I don't know if you remember that film, but at the end, it's wanting to try to fly, but it only thinks it can fly by holding on to that feather. And I kind of feel like it's the same thing here. I feel like these two daughters are holding on to their things so tightly. And when I saw these two cards, it reminded me of that thing that like our magic, our power, our knowledge, even the knowledge in here that she's trying to grow and like cultivate, we have that deep inside, and we don't need all these other tools. What we really need is actually to really get deep into our intuition and just to like close our eyes and start listening to that inner voice that is inside. And so to me, this is just a reminder that by perhaps leaning into your creativity, leaning into things that are like lighting you up, it might also help you again with this soul lesson of your curiosity and new ideas, by just following something that is exciting to you. And for the last card, a message of love from your guides or your highest self, we got the Seven of Pentacles. And this is such a lovely card to end on, because the Seven of Pentacles is all about the long-term game. It's basically about knowing that if you invest in this, it will eventually grow. But it's about patience, and it's about also being very mindful about what you plant, because what you plant will grow. So be very mindful about what you do. But it's also a message of encouragement here, because I think it's also reminding you that when you do follow things that are passionate and very fun and kind of light you up, then you will eventually grow that, and it could become something even bigger than what you imagine at the beginning. Maybe at the beginning it is just a hobby, or maybe it's just something little and you have no idea where it's going to take you. Maybe it's going to take you to a whole new place where you're going to live. Maybe it's going to eventually make you move across the country or the state or even the world. But Or maybe it's going to be a hobby that becomes a job. Who knows? But all I'm saying is that this is a message of reminding you that whatever you lean into now will grow. And even if you can't see where it is, like a seed sometimes, it's really hard. They pretty much all look the same. And then you plant them, and then they start growing into these completely different plants or flowers or trees. And you just have to trust that like what you plant will grow. And I think that's a wonderful message to end this year, because we've planted a lot of things in 2025. I know I have. And sometimes it can be frustrating when we don't see them growing. And at the same time, I think that this is just a reminder that they will grow. We just have to be patient. So on that, I'm wishing you lots of love and lots of laughter. Have a wonderful end of the year, and I will see you in 2026. Eee, that's exciting. See you soon.